guys, today for Abe's Movie Mondays number 3, we're going to be ranking all 11 Star Wars movies. So let's get to that. So, it's still good. Guys, welcome back to Treasure Boys. I'm Abe, and this is episode 3 of Abe's Movie Mondays. And I recently watched all 11 Star Wars movies. It was really fun, and I'm really excited to show you guys. Real quick, before I give you my ranking and all, I want to say my family's not big Star Wars fans, and I've always felt kind of like, yeah, I wasn't like hated on it with like some other people in my family, but rewatching these movies, I really enjoyed it. I kind of like Star Wars. I'm not a huge fan, but I like Star Wars. But anyways, let's get into it. This is the spoiler warning right here. So before we get into it, if you guys haven't seen any of the Star Wars movies, then just stop, watch them all that you haven't seen, and then come back because I'm going to be spoiling them. You have been warned. Number 11. Coming in at 11, we have Attack of the Clones. And, well, there's not much to say. This movie just is kind of cringe. It has some really cringy moments. For example, Anakin and Padme's relationship just does not work. I felt like the action in this Star Wars movie was not as good as any other Star Wars movie. I did feel like Obi-Wan is just a great character in the prequels. He's definitely the standout, and he's probably my second favorite Jedi. But this movie it has a lot of problems. I don't think it's F, but because for an F tier for me, it has to be like you can't watch it. But this, I feel like it's watchable. But number 11 is Attack of the Clones, and I give it a 65%. And a D. And something I'm going to be doing for the Star Wars ranking. Last I did the Avengers ranking, or the MCU ranking. I'm going to compare it to the MCU movie it's closest to. It really isn't any of them. It's worse than all the MCU movies. So, there, it's at 11. Number 10. Coming in at number 10, we have The Phantom Menace. And I gave this one, watching it again, it's definitely not a great Star Wars movie, but I think it's a little overly hated. It's cringe, real cringe at moments. Like, young Anakin, I mean, he was just a young actor. You kind of have to blame George Lucas for that. But Jar Jar Binks is, of course, Jar Jar Binks. But I like Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan. I felt like they really moved the movie up to just not that bad. It's still not a great movie, but it's not as bad as everyone says. I'm going to give Phantom Menace 70% and a C, and I compare it to Thor the Dark World. Number 9. Coming in at number 9, we have Solo. And Solo, watching this, it's hard to have Han Solo without Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford is Han Solo is great with Harrison Ford. I mean, this movie, it's still a good movie. It just didn't feel as action-packed or as meaningful as any of the other Star Wars movies. It just felt kind of there and bland and a little bit boring at points. But anyways, I give Solo a 79% and a C, and I compare it to Doctor Strange. Number 8. Coming in at number 8, The Last Jedi. People, I feel like people overly hate on this movie. I like it. I think it's a good movie. I think from 8 to 1 are actually good movies. It has a lot of flaws, that's for sure. But it has good moments, and I feel like some moments that are memorable and just work. But, for example, I like the scene where Rey and Kylo are fighting in the Red Room. And again, I have to say that Rey and Kylo in the new movies are kind of what bring them up. I like both their characters. They have some flaws and all and some bad characters, but Rey and Kylo, their connection in this movie really worked, and I liked it. So I give it an 80% and a B, and I compare it to Thor. Number 7. Coming in at number 7 is Rogue One. Now, Rogue One has probably the best third act in any Star Wars movie. But the first 2 acts are kind of, they didn't work for me very well. I mean, they're not bad, they just didn't feel like they could compare to that amazing third act which brought this movie up. If the third act was like the first 2 acts, it might be near the bottom, but Rogue One, I like how they did the spin-off with the finding the plans for the Death Star. I didn't see that coming. I didn't know they were gonna do that, but it works and it like has emotional moments and all. In the third act, but the first 2 acts they just kind of stepped down. And of course, you gotta note that amazing Darth Vader scene where he's just destroying all the rebel troopers. And I give this one a 84% and a B. And I also compare this one to Captain Marvel. Number 6. Coming in at number 6.
Hey, we like to rank things, right? Oscar or Cookie Monster?
Mom, I'm kind of filming here, but I'll say Cookie Monster. Okay. Coming in at number 6, we have The Force Awakens. From 6 and 5, I feel like both these movies, one day I would like the other more, one day I'd like the other more. But for today, number 6 is The Force Awakens. And The Force Awakens, I feel like I'm in the middle because some people really love this movie, but some people, like my family, really don't like this movie. But I'm probably in the middle of that. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. I feel like it was a good movie and it worked for to bring back Star Wars. I mean, I feel like it was a little under, it was, I guess, anticlimactic of how we want it to be, how we wanted it to be when we saw that amazing trailer, all amazing trailers that came out for this movie. The trailers were so good, but felt like it disappointed from what the trailers had. It was still an enjoyable movie, it just wasn't as good as the trailers were making it to look like. They kind of remade New Hope, and made it new, but I enjoyed it. I felt like it worked. I liked they introducing new characters like Finn, Poe, and Rey. I liked all those characters with bringing the old ones back, like Princess Leia and Han Solo. And that's another thing. Han Solo is always great in these movies. He might be the best Star Wars character, and I felt like his death worked too. I felt like it worked to have his son accomplish what he needed to do to rise in his ranks of the Sith. But overall, it's a good movie. I give it an 86% and a B. I compare The Force Awakens to Spider-Man: Homecoming. Number 5. Coming in at 5, we have a controversial one, Return of the Jedi. Not that it's too high, but that it's maybe too low. And I feel like this Return of the Jedi, in some cases, is overrated from the top 4, because people have it their top 3, and some people have it at 2. No one really has it at 1. But it's not a bad movie. I just felt like to end the original trilogy, it didn't live up to the first 2 movies. I wasn't too big on when they were on the I think it was one of the moons of Endor with the Ewoks. I mean, it was fine, but I just felt like it didn't work for the end. I liked the parts with Luke, Vader, and Palpatine, who's always just great in these movies. But this movie, it's good. I feel like Han Solo was not as good as Empire Strikes Back or A New Hope in this movie, but it still works. It's still a good movie. I give Return of the Jedi 86% and a B, and I compare it to probably Spider-Man: Homecoming. Number 4. Coming in at 4, we have the one that started it all, A New Hope. And A New Hope, I really enjoyed A New Hope. It started Luke's character, a lot of people say he's not that great of an actor. Mark Hamill's a great voice actor, but I enjoyed him in this movie more than probably any of the other movies of the original three. But and then it had Obi-Wan, who's always a great character, and just kept adding great characters with Han Solo and Princess Leia, and it just brought all this big universe together with Star Wars, and it made everyone love it, and it just was great. But I feel like some of the things bringing it down, I didn't in the lightsaber duel in this movie is probably like one of the worst, because they're just kind of doing this. Because they were limited but on what they had, but it's still a good movie. I give it an 88% and a B, and I compare this one to Captain America: The First Avenger. Number 3. Guys, we're in our top 3, and these are the movies that stand out more than any of the other ones. And they're one from every trilogy. But coming in at 3, we have The Rise of Skywalker. It could be that I watched it recently. Sometimes that's the case, but I don't think so for this movie. This movie, people who don't like it, I don't know where they're coming from, because it works really well. With how they ended the saga was, I think, the best way they could do it. There was a script that came out. It was going to be the alternate movie, and people were like, "Oh, it's going to be so much better." No, it didn't work for me. And then I see comparing that to this movie, and this movie is just it's great. I liked it. It's very good. I thought the standout was Rey and Kylo. Again, they worked perfectly, and I like what they did with Rey's character with the Rey Palpatine. I really liked that. I felt like that worked. I was like, that's probably gonna be Luke or Obi-Wan. That's fine. That would be cool. And then I see that's Rey Palpatine. I was like, that's. I didn't see that coming. And the first 2 acts are really good, but the third act really made this good. But a lot of people didn't like the final battle, but I really liked it. It works. Like, they did copy Endgame a lot with Pose. It looks like they lost. They can't destroy the Star Destroyer, and then Lando's behind him with all the rebels, and he's like, "I got you," or I don't know. He probably should have just said, "on your left," or something, because that's pretty much what it was. And then it copied Endgame again, I love the scene where all the Jedi speak to Rey and give her the power of, like, all the Jedi, and you could hear Mace Windu and Yoda and Anakin and Luke at the end saying, "The Force will be with you always, Rey." But then when she's, like, pushing back Palpatine, and then he's like, "You can't stop me, I'm all the Sith." And then she's like, "And I am all the Jedi." What movie came out the same year that had pretty much the same thing? Endgame, but I liked it. Also, Ben Solo was good, and I like how they ended Kylo's character with making him turn to the light side, and just, I like this movie. Some of the gripes with that aren't copying Endgame is the second act kind of gets a little boring at some parts, but other than that, I like this movie. I give it a 90% and an A, and I compare it to Ant-Man. Number 2. So, coming in at number 2... Sour Skittles? Can I have one? Something. Coming in at number 2, we have Revenge of the Sith. A lot of people hate on this movie, but it's, like, really good. There are definitely cringy moments in it. Like, of course, when Darth Vader's like, "Padme's dead," it's like, no! That was, no. And then Padme has lost her will to live, so she just died to die. Okay. And then, of course, Anakin at times is not great. And you see I have it at number 2, and you're like, oh, you have a lot of problems with it. But I have way more good things. It is definitely the best of the prequels, the best of, like, any Star Wars movie that's been out since what I have at number 1. But it works, I don't know, it just works so well to end the prequels with this, with Obi-Wan and his journey and all. And it's a great movie throughout, but that final act is kind of like Rogue One, except the first 2 acts are still really good. With Order 66, and I know that's kind of in the middle, but Order 66 was one of the best Star Wars moments, because it's kind of sad because you see these things happen, and these Jedi that you've known just are dying, and then you see the Palpatine in his start as he starts his journey in this movie. Well, it kind of started in The Phantom Menace, but just really started the Empire in this movie. And then you see Anakin turning into Darth Vader, and what probably the greatest lightsaber duel in any of the Star Wars movies between Anakin and Obi-Wan, which is it's just an amazing movie scene, and it's just definitely the best lightsaber duel, and it's just all these things just adding up to this. From, you know that something's gonna happen because you've seen the original 3, and you're like, oh, there was like only 2 Jedi with Obi-Wan and Yoda, and then eventually Luke with the 3rd Jedi. But I really enjoy Revenge of the Sith, and people overly hate it. I give Revenge of the Sith a 90 and an A, and I compare it to Iron Man 3. Number 1. Coming in at number 1, we have, drum roll, you all expected what, and you guys know what it is, but The Empire Strikes Back. And this movie is just amazing. It's the best that Star Wars has ever been. And for example, just the action and the characters are the best in this movie. We get introduced to my favorite Jedi, Yoda, in this movie. We get introduced to probably the best Star Wars character, well, we don't get introduced, but he's best in this movie. And there's just so many iconic things about this movie. The action's great. The dialogue is great. The acting is great. Even though Luke is sometimes below what he should be, he still wasn't that bad. And then just everything about this movie works so well. I don't really have much to say about it other than that. Probably my favorite part of it was I don't know if I have a favorite part. It's just all great. When Han Solo, you get sad even though you know he's probably not gonna die, because this movie's been out for like 30 plus years. But you still are sad for him when you see he's going into the carbon freeze or whatever it is. But this movie is absolutely great and amazing. I give The Empire Strikes Back, that's way ahead of all 11 Star Wars movies, a 96% and an S, and I compare it to Captain America: The Winter Soldier. So that's my take on all the Star Wars movies for right now, for the whole Skywalker saga. And I like Star Wars. They have some great movies, and I was comparing it to the MCU because that was the last ranking I did, but I feel like the MCU is way better than Star Wars. I don't know if I'm going to get like people not liking that, but for example, the highest ranked movie on this list was an S tier, of course, and it was a great movie, but it really wasn't that close to movies like Endgame and Infinity War and Civil War. But and then I feel like Star Wars is just a B franchise. They have like good movies, but most of them are just like, yeah, that was good, it's just gonna be. But feel like if they make more Star Wars movies, which they probably will, just try to hit that A or S tier instead of just like, that was good. You want it to be great. Well, like Empire Strikes Back, Revenge of the Sith, and The Rise of Skywalker. So that'll conclude it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys feel obligated to, just go down there, subscribe, and then like it, and then hit the bell to get notified when we make another video. But that'll conclude it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Treasure Boys. I'm Abe, signing out.
I wasn't paying attention.